You telling me Faizon, the actor, said on TMZ that I did what?
That a gun was pulled.
You saying he's a snitch?
He's the allegation.
He's a bald-faced rat?
He's the allegation.
You said that he went and told you street business?
Faizon snitched. I'm like, what?
We actually got that.
You can't be in Hollywood, Ray, with a gun and talking about I'm gonna shoot Faizon, and the police don't show up.
What's going on? What happened, man?
Faizon called the police on us. Gangbangers are only gangbangers when the gang's around. When their gang's not around, then suddenly they just become people that go and call the police. And dudes that are 5'5".
Guys, Katt Williams is like the king of drama in the entertainment world. He's got more enemies than you can count, and rumor has it he's the grudge-holding type who never forget. No surprise, he's not afraid to call out folks, no matter how long ago the started. Loads of celebs have felt the heat from Katt, and guess what? He's digging up an old feud with Faizon Love, who supposedly had Katt arrested back in 2012. Yeah, you heard that right, arrested. Katt's not just giving Faizon a little nudge, he's straight up going off on him. The Shay Shay podcast became the battleground, and Faizon found himself in the long list of people Katt's dragging by their hair. Now, Faizon tried to act all cool and unbothered, sharing his side of the story. But let me tell you, it didn't even come close to what Katt unleashed. The crazy part is, Katt's got the public on his side. Every word he says, people are eating it up. Faizon firing back, it's like it fell on deaf ears. Instead of making Katt look bad, it just made the public love him even more. So what sparked this whole thing? The root of their goes back to 2012 when Faizon supposedly had Katt arrested. The details are sketchy, but the bad blood has been simmering ever since. Now, in 2024, it's like Katt's decided it's payback time. Let's get into it. Now, let's take a wild trip down memory lane to October 2012, where things got real spicy between Katt Williams and Faizon Love. Picture this, Faizon accusing Katt of pulling a gun on him during a heated Hollywood showdown, claiming he felt seriously threatened. So, there's Katt Williams minding his own business outside the supper club, when bam, he gets arrested because some clubgoers pointed fingers at him, saying he was the dude waving a gun like it's a party trick. Plot twist, he was released without any charges. But hold on, the story gets even juicier. The next day, the Tom Joyner morning show drops some major gossip. Turns out, during Katt's arrest, he spilled the tea. Faizon called the police on us and then ran in the club. Imagine Katt thinking this was all under wrap, losing it when TMZ hinted that Faizon spilled the beans to them about their clash. The interviewer starts throwing questions at Katt about the whole shebang. They're like, hey, Faizon Love's been talking about you pulling a gun and stuff. Katt, probably caught off guard, is like, I was typing Scary Movie 5. Just flew in today, I have no clue. The interviewer spills the tea, saying Faizon's claiming Katt pulled a gun outside supper club. Katt's like, wait, are you punking me? It's like he's in disbelief. The interviewer insists it's all over their website, and Katt's like, well, fire away with your questions then. They dive into the allegations, and Katt's got some serious comeback. He spills the beans about the altercation, Faizon talking smack, and how the police came, did their thing, and Katt walked away. Then he throws shade. He weighs 450 pounds, I weigh 140. If he's saying I had a problem with him, he better explain why my face looks like this and he's still 450 pounds.
If his story is that Katt Williams he had a problem with in a parking lot, then he just needs to explain why Katt Williams' face looks like this and he still weighs 450 pounds.
And then Katt goes full Ohio on Faizon, saying they push cows over for a living in Dayton. It's like, bro, write some jokes instead of telling the police about our parking lot brawl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katt. Appreciate it a lot.
But look, if Faizon, he can tell the police whatever he wants. Faizon, write some jokes.
Now, when they asked Faizon if he was scared Katt was gonna pull the trigger, he spilled the beans saying, I tell you the truth, I was. Because it's somebody with a gun and they're on narcotics. You don't know what's gonna happen. But I didn't want anybody else to get affected. If anybody was gonna get hit, it's gonna be me. I didn't want innocent bystanders caught up in it. But hold up, Faizon wasn't done. He hit up the Tom Joyner morning show to spill what he claimed were the real details. According to Love, he's not the one who dialed up the police, and he's got a humorous take on it. I didn't have to. He's 4'2". Instead, he claims that he and his partner managed to snatch the gun away from Katt, flexing their toughness. But get this, when they realized the gun was unloaded, Love decided to be the bigger person and give this little N his gun back. Now here's where it gets tangled. Love spills the tea to the TJM's crew, explaining that the root of their beef is a failed payment. Apparently, he was part of a comedy tour with Katt over a year ago, but he bailed out because Katt was allegedly out there slapping people. And even after he left the tour, Katt Katt kept promoting Love as an act, even when he wasn't performing. But wait, there's a financial twist. While the media buzzes about Katt owing Love $50,000, Love clears the air, stating that it's not a debt but a payment owed for false advertising. Love emphasizes that he wouldn't loan money to Katt, saying, "For what? To a crackhead." Love spills some truth, expressing his desire to put an end to the Katt. He believes Katt stirred up this drama for the media attention, suggesting Katt has a thing for gang violence, which he seems to perpetuate with his entourage. However, Love, having experienced gang violence growing up, is steering away from that lifestyle and wants the feud to be over. He specifically chose to talk exclusively with Tom and the crew because he sees Tom as a leader in the Black community. Love wants this drama to end because, in his words, Katt Williams wants to be tough. And that's not the Black life, man. Our community is dying of gang violence, a cycle he wants to break. But you know what? Katt didn't give a darn about Faizon's version. Fast forward to 2024, and Katt is not holding back in dragging Faizon through the mud. Katt straight up said, "I only put on comedians that are funnier than me. Anybody who told you differently was a fat Faizon liar." Ouch. Katt's throwing some serious shade, claiming there's nobody in the business like him. Faizon, according to Katt, just called it straight. Katt's even bringing up Netflix specials, saying, "I have 12 specials. Guess how many Faizon got? 0.
Faizon said that getting a Netflix special is easy. I have 12 specials. Guess how many Faizon got? 0.
And then Katt goes on this tangent about not harboring resentment because he can't be jealous. He's like, "I've never seen them have anything that I ever wanted." He compares it to not letting people on the juice discuss real athletes. It's a whole analogy, but basically Katt's saying he's in a league of his own. But hold on, he's not done. Katt spills the tea about people signing up for certain programs and getting a light-skinned, weird-faced wife who never does interviews. Apparently in 20 years she won't do an interview, and Katt insists he's not talking about just one person. It's a whole group of 7 people. Katt keeps the roast going, saying, "I came in this business saying I was going to expose if you're a Faizon Love fan. You mean you've been a fan for 32 years, still waiting for his first special? If Steve Harvey is your fave, you've been waiting for him to do stand-up for 15 years? DL's still out there. None of those accolades matter to stand-up. Who cares about a plaque card for Family Feud? Like, congrats, you can talk for a living, surprise." Katt then dives into Faizon's acting career, throwing shade about creating characters and not just being himself in every movie. He's like, "Why does your script always say take your shirt off?" Shannon tries to jump in, defending Big Worm from Friday, but Katt shuts it down, asking why Faizon wasn't in the sequels if he was so great in the first one, and that it's because Faizon is just not good.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If what you're saying is correct, why wasn't he in next Friday or Friday after next?
I mean, his role,
It wasn't good. Sorry.
Now enter Faizon Love into the social media arena to address Katt's comment. He started with, "It's hard to address lunacy and hypocrisy and downright ignorance." But then he went all in, calling Katt a dumb, stupid mother F, and questioning why people buy into Katt's word. According to Faizon, Katt's interview is nothing but a cry for help. Listen to what he's saying. He's actually calling for help. He's calling for help. None of the SHT he says lines up with nothing.
But it's so funny how many people think this dumb, stupid is spitting truth.
So, just like the rumors suggest about Katt holding on to grudges forever, it turns out Faizon isn't the only one caught in his firing line. Katt went on a full-blown spree, calling out everyone he's had beef with in the past. Some responded, some didn't, but the crazy part? It seems like Katt's got a whole army of the public backing him up, making the responses fall on deaf ears. Now let's dive into some of the other names Katt dragged into the drama, starting with none other than Steve Harvey. Yeah, you heard it right. Katt didn't spare the Family Feud host. Let's rewind the clock to December 2008 when Steve Harvey and Katt Williams found themselves in the headlines. These two haven't exactly been best buds for over a decade, and there's a story behind it. So, Katt Williams decided to call out Steve Harvey right before a Christmas season show, and things got wild. Picture this. Jamie Foxx, who was a radio host at the time, throws shade into the mix by playing a clip of Williams dissing Steve Harvey. Katt, on the phone, goes on a rant saying, "I want to apologize for what's going to happen," hinting at their upcoming joint comedy gig. But here's the kicker. He drops the bomb telling Steve that once he hits the stage, it's game over for him as the king of comedy. Steve Harvey then calls in, baffled by the whole situation. He tells Jamie and the crew, "I've always been cool with Katt," explaining that back in LA, he didn't even know who Katt Williams was. Imagine that. Steve Harvey asking, "Whoever Katt Williams is, call me." So Katt Williams didn't hold back in the recent interview, laying into Steve Harvey. Katt straight up called out Steve for supposedly being jealous of Bernie Mac, spilling the tea on their years-long beef. According to Katt, Bernie felt Steve was trying to mess with his movie roles, even attempting to snatch a role in Ocean's 11, creating major tension. Katt went on to claim that Steve, in an appearance on Club Shay Shay, tried to act all nonchalant about not wanting to be a movie star. But according to Katt, Steve was secretly trying to compete with Bernie Mac for movie roles. And that's not all. Katt also accused Steve of stealing material from another comedian, Mark Curry, and allegedly lying about being homeless. In Katt's words, the same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now, Steve got a sitcom where he's the principal, wearing a suit and rocking a high-top fade, making all black men think he's got the best lineup in the business. And it's a man unit, not the real deal. Katt also called Steve out for supposedly lying about being homeless, saying, "That's my story. That's not his story." Steve Harvey was never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Katt didn't stop there, diving into Steve's marital history, claiming Steve said it was his first wife who got him where he is, then switched it up with the next wife, who thinks like a man. Katt questioned Steve's credibility and authenticity, especially when it comes to claiming to be the king of comedy. Katt said, "Because the whole time Bernie was here, you were acting like you were funnier than him. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all." Katt's not holding back, calling Steve out on his claims and keeping it real about how comedy works.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey was never homeless.
Hold up, there's more to this Katt Williams saga. He might not just be blowing smoke. Guess who's supposedly backing him up? None other than Mark Curry. Yeah, that's right, Mark Curry's name is in the mix. So here's the scoop. Comedians really don't like it when someone swipes their jokes. And guess who's gotten on the wrong side of quite a few funny folks? Yep, our man Steve Harvey. In the wild world of showbiz, especially comedy, things can get messy real quick. Celebs borrowing each other's art, or in this case, straight up stealing jokes. It's like a comedy minefield. Mark Curry is making some noise, putting Steve Harvey on blast for allegedly lifting his material on a very public stage. Mark Curry, the comic who rocked the industry early on, is pointing fingers at Steve Harvey, claiming Harvey's not the stand-up guy his brand makes him out to be. According to Curry's spill, Steve Harvey's comedy success might not have been as smooth as he led us to believe. It's like he's saying, hey, those things that made you love Steve Harvey might not have all come from the man himself. Alright, so in the entertainment biz, things can get a bit fuzzy, right? I mean, allegations and drama are practically part of the package. But here's the thing, Steve Harvey isn't exactly new to this whole mess. Over the years, he's found himself in a tangle of similar problems. Now add Mark Curry's recent claims to the mix, and it's like, hold up, is Steve Harvey not the flawless life coach we all thought he was? We might be on the brink of uncovering a slice of his success story that didn't quite make it into his best-selling book. Normally, when someone's throwing accusations around, it's because they're not exactly sitting on top of the success mountain, right? Well, that's not the case with Mark Curry, and that's what's keeping this whole Steve Harvey drama in the headlines. It's not your typical scenario. Mark Curry is not your average accuser. Back in the 90s, when becoming a star was like hitting the jackpot, Mark was living the dream. Started in stand-up, globe-trotted, packed-out comedy spots, the whole 9 yards. Now he has taken aim at some big shots in the entertainment game, calling them out as nothing but joke-stealing frauds. And guess who's in the spotlight first? Steve Harvey. So, in a couple of recent chats, Mark spilled the beans, claiming that Steve Harvey straight up recycled his material for jokes on his shows. And this isn't a new Mark's been throwing shade about Steve lifting his jokes way back when on Harvey's NBC talk show. Alright, so there's this explosive video, and it's got Steve Harvey and Mark Curry tangled up in some serious comedy. Mark's claiming that Steve, who used to host Little Big Shots on NBC, swiped not one but 2 of his jokes. And get this! Mark says he already confronted Steve about it in the past, but the alleged joke thievery kept happening.
The thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, man, you're using my material.
Now Mark, who's 62, spilled the tea to TMZ, saying that Steve jacked his Halloween bit, a personal story about growing up. But Steve wasn't having any of it. He straight up denied the accusations, saying Mark couldn't even name the supposedly stolen joke. Things got heated real quick, with Steve telling Mark to get a life and get a career.
Mark Curry says that you're still stealing his jokes.
Hey man, listen to me.
Yeah.
Now this, I'm getting sick of this right here.
Yeah.
Mark Curry need to grow up.
Steve went on a rant, saying he hasn't stolen a joke in 35 years and dared Mark to name the joke he's talking about. He even threw in a grow-up man for good measure. But here's the kicker. Mark wasn't just making stuff up. The comedian came armed with receipts, proving his point and turning up the heat in this comedy feud. Mark Curry took his beef with Steve Harvey to Instagram and dropped some serious receipts in a video that's now deleted. Basically, he called out Steve for allegedly stealing a bunch of jokes from him for his show. In this video, Mark compared an episode from his 90s sitcom, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, where he talked about rocking a brown box as a UPS costume for Halloween. Surprise, surprise, Steve made the exact same joke in a 2015 episode of his show.
Bullshit talk show he had. And he did all my Halloween material one Halloween. I'm watching, somebody called me and said, man, homeboy doing your material. So he did my whole Halloween run.
All right, let's talk about the whole stealing jokes scene. Another person Katt didn't hold back on was Cedric the Entertainer. He went in calling Cedric a walrus and straight up accusing him of plagiarism. According to Katt, Cedric denied jacking his jokes by saying, "It don't line up," but Katt wasn't having any of it. He pointed out that he dropped the joke on TV in 2018, and Cedric supposedly came to see him at the Comedy Store doing it in 2019. And guess what? Cedric later did the same joke on the Kings of Comedy. Katt's like, what doesn't line up here? He even threw in that it was a televised joke, and Mark Curry played a part in punching it up to its prime.
Cedric told you when you asked him, did you steal Katt Williams' joke? Yeah. He said, it don't line up. How it don't line up? 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship.
And that's not all. Katt didn't stop at Cedric. He swung back around to Steve Harvey before circling right back to Cedric. This time, he didn't pull punches, calling Cedric a walrus, and basically saying he's not living up to that entertainer title. Katt claims Cedric can't sing, can't dance, and can't write jokes. Ouch. He even threw shade at Cedric's comedy specials, saying they're so bad they're not even on Netflix or Tubi.
We found out he can't sing, can't dance, and doesn't write jokes. He did 4 comedy specials. They're so bad, Shannon, they're not available on Netflix or Tubi.
Now, next up on the list is Kevin Hart. For those of you who don't know about the ongoing showdown between Katt Williams and Kevin Hart, you might recall that the traces back to the 2008 film Fool's Gold. Williams was initially set to take the lead, but his legal issues at the time forced him to pass on the gig, which involved filming Down Under in Australia. Enter Kevin Hart, who swooped in and snagged the role instead. According to the grapevine, that's where the sparks of tension between Williams and Hart first ignited. Now, we're talking about more than a decade of simmering folks. It's like a slow-cooked drama stew that's finally reaching its boiling point. Williams, with all his comedic flair, is now taking aim at Kevin Hart. When the topic of Kevin Hart came up in his conversation with Shannon, Katt straight up alleged that Hart might be an industry plant. He questioned the lightning speed of Kevin's success, highlighting how he landed a sitcom and led a movie, Soul Plane, all in his first year in Los Angeles. According to Katt, this raises eyebrows and makes Kevin's early history seem a bit like a mystery. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to LA? And in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person, or since that person. He continued saying, what do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definition of these words.
You heard of a comedian that came to LA, and in his first year in LA, he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading. What do you think a plant is?
Katt didn't shy away from getting into the nitty-gritty, expressing his concern about letting people who might not be truthful create their own narratives unchecked. He brought up the power imbalance, mentioning how liars have all the assets and resources, leaving the rest of the folks to play catch-up. Katt even challenged the idea that these resources factor in when it comes to the truth. In Katt's words, he expressed concern about letting individuals who might not be truthful create their own stories unchecked, especially when they have abundant resources. Despite the accusations, Katt seemed aware of the potential backlash, acknowledging that behind his back, he might be seen as a bitter and jealous comedian. When asked if he feared any backlash, Williams responded, "Satan can't create anything. That includes blessings for his people." That's why you know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is to act like it didn't happen. So, Thursday morning rolls around, and guess what? Kevin Hart isn't one to take things lying down. He fired back at Katt Williams in a post shared on platform X, giving his take on the latest diss. Kevin didn't just clap back. He also took the opportunity to plug his newest project, which is set to hit Netflix. He said, "Gotta Gotta get that anger up, oucha champ. It's honestly sad. In the meantime, please enjoy my movie trailer to my next film, Lift, which will be dropping on Netflix in 8 days. Also, during an explosive rant on the Club Shay Shay podcast, Kevin Hart had this to say when asked about being called out by comedian Katt Williams. You don't entertain the circus. You watch it. When a lion comes out and rides the bike, you don't think about it too hard. You just go, okay, that's crazy. The lion is riding a bike. And then you go home and enjoy the rest of your day. Hart responded during an interview with Fox 5's Kevin McCarthy about his new action comedy, Lift. I don't feed into the stuff at all at the end of the day. It's all entertaining to a certain degree, Hart said. He added he's sure his fans will fact-check claims like the ones made against him by Williams. I just don't have the time for it. There's too much going on, Hart said. Now let's talk Ludacris. Katt Williams went all out on his podcast episode, dropping some serious claims. According to Katt, both him and Ludacris were at a crossroads, invited to some Illuminati thing where one of them had to make a big decision. Apparently they were equal at the start, but it came down to cutting off all their hair and ditching the sideburn game. The plot thickens when Katt spills that the next person in line was set to snag a cool $200 million, getting $10 million a pop for 20 movies. And guess what? That person turned out to be Ludacris, and Katt Williams was the other player in the game.
Because they were gonna pay him $10 million a movie to do 20 movies. And that's how the conversation happened. One of those persons turned out to be Ludacris, and the other person turned out to be Katt Williams.
Oh, but Katt didn't stop there. He got personal. He threw some shade at Luda's wife, Eudoxia Mbugiengwe, calling her Luda's light-skinned, ugly-faced wife.
One person ended up with a light-skinned, ugly-faced wife that's never done it. Remember I told you that if I say that, it applied to 7 people? Yeah. It's part of what give you.
Now, Luda didn't take that lying down. Nope. He hit back with some fire, dropping a freestyle over Kanye West's Devil in a New Dress beat. Luda spit in bars like, never been Illuminati, only ill Luda naughty / and I only left with when coming from any party. The online crowd was all over it, showing some love for Luda's lyrical comeback. And it didn't stop there. Luda got real about life. He rapped about being married with kids, the evolution of his journey, no clout chasing, no saying stuff for likes. He's all about that authentic vibe. Luda even paid homage to the late John Singleton and gave props to earning every Fast and Furious check. Plus, he threw in a nod to his signature style, the afro with sideburns. And of course, he dropped a line about addiction on the rise, giving a shout out to comedians to check their temperature. Now, Katt didn't just stop here. Nope, he spilled the tea on a bunch of other names and threw out some seriously wild stuff. Now here's the kicker. Nobody, not a single soul who got called out by Katt, has come forward to call him a liar or deny the claims. It's like they're all just throwing around random gibberish, avoiding the real talk. Now, what's the deal? Are Katt's words hitting a little too close to home, or are they just trying to dodge more drama? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next video.